When you're young, a lot of times, especially for young men, we don't take things as seriously as maybe they are in everyday life. And a very stark reality was brought to me when I was young. I was 20, 21 years old. Someone I knew well, Billy Petruccelli, he went by Butch, had grown up on Taylor Street, the same neighborhood I'm from, and his family originated in the same village that my father grew up in, and my grandfather, and my godfather, just east of Rome in a region called Abruzzi. And in Abruzzi, it doesn't get the fame that Rome gets because of the culture and whatnot, but Abruzzi is where probably the most vicious mob guys come out of, especially the ones that wind up in the United States. And that stems from poverty and whatnot. Well, Billy, who later took on the name Butch for whatever reason, I'm not sure, was a collector, much like I followed in his footsteps as a collector. I followed in his footsteps most of my young life. And Butch worked with a crew of bad guys that were known as the Wild Bunch. And their forte was to take other people that were involved in crime, and they would collect street tax. And so what would happen is if you were loaning money, gambling, whatever, they would go and tax you your 25% and bring the money back. Well, as it turns out, Butch decided to start keeping some of that money. And what he wasn't privy to was that his main partner, Harry Alleman, who was another hitman for the mob, his uncle was Joey Ferriola, who, as it turns out, was the number 2 in command of the mob for a long time. And so when Harry went to jail, but Butch didn't, the ritual is that we collect money and we set a certain amount aside for the guys that have gone to jail or incapacitated, whatever. And so I was summoned to a warehouse in an area called Bridgeport, which is predominantly Irish. I learned later that there's a reason why they did it in an Irish neighborhood. And I didn't think anything of it. But when I got there with my cousin Dino, we saw Butch, and we saw Rocco and Felice, and we saw Al Taco, bosses, big bosses. And they were there with Ferriola. And so it's obvious something's going on, but we thought maybe Butch was being elevated. So when they started to talk to Butch, it became apparent Butch was in trouble, a lot of trouble. And a fellow named Frank Calabrese, who was a known muscle for the mob, walked up behind him, just as cool as the other side of the pillow, and threw a half-inch rope around his neck and pulled it tight. And when he pulled it tight, Arturo LaPietra, who ran that section of the city, took a acetylene torch and lit it while we stood there and watched, and proceeded to burn his. And he wiggled and tried to get loose, but Calabrese is a big, strong guy. He burned his, and then he slowly worked his way up the body. And as this guy's screaming bloody murder, he proceeds to burn his face. He's burning his eye sockets, burns his mouth, pushes it as the lips burn off, and burns the tissue from his mouth until he was basically melting. And as he slowly stopped screaming, and you could tell that he was probably about to die, Frank Calabrese with a straight razor. They let him go limp. Then another fellow who I didn't know, nice-sized butcher knife, stabbed him 3 times in the heart. Put him in a sleeping bag, and they carried him out to the car. And it was at that point, my aha moment in the mob hit me like a ton of bricks. This is what happens when you break these rules. So they took Butch's body and they put it in a sleeping bag and they put it in the back of his car and intentionally drove it to another neighborhood, which is all Mexican, behind where the county jail is in Chicago. And they just left him there. And this happened in like December. They didn't find him until like March. So by now he's stanky. Just rotted corpse. Some civilian just happened to smell him, tapped on the glass, saw the lump, called the police. Police came and said, fuck. So that's where Butch went. But the reality and the realization that when you fuck up, this is what happens, regardless of your connections. Because Butch was a riser, man. He was doing good. He was bringing in a lot of money. But you don't steal from family. And it was from that point forward I realized that no matter how crazy I am with my personal income, money that belonged to people above me, to the penny, had to be right. It wasn't long after that I was sent to Philadelphia to pick up a lot of money. Wound up getting ambushed, shot 5 times because the money bag was light when we came back. It wasn't light on purpose. It just happened. But rules are rules. And as that realization sets in with you, paranoia sets in. And what you see in the movies, when you see in Goodfellas, when everybody's patting each other on the back, what they're really thinking is this fucker going to shoot me in the back of my head. You never ride in the front seat of a car. You never go up the escalator first. You always make sure you're in the back of the line, not the front, for anything, because that's exactly how it happens. And watching Butch Petrocelli get burned to death, and then slit, and then stabbed, the brutal reality that these are family members and friends that you've known your whole life, there's nothing you can do. You can't even say anything. You just have to follow what you're told to do. As time went on, and I collected money, the use of violence is really a last resort, because once you hurt somebody, then they're not going to pay you. They're going to run to the cops. So unless you're willing to kill them, you really don't want to put your hands on them. One different situation in that regard, there's a guy, he's a mob guy, but he owned trucks. A lot of trucking business, a lot of bars, a lot of restaurants in the Chicago outfit. A guy named Jimmy Pellegrino was also dealing drugs on the side, which is a big no-no. The Chicago mob is very tight about no drugs, certain other rules that New York, Philadelphia condone. We don't, we condemn it. And Jimmy Pellegrino was in cahoots with who ultimately became infamous through my life, the cop, Steve Manning. And the deal was that Jimmy was giving Steve money, and Steve was ripping off and killing these drug dealers, the Puerto Rican drug dealers on the northwest side of the city. And he was taking the cocaine that he was stealing and selling it to Jimmy for what was fair market value. And then one time, Steve decided to just rip Jimmy off, because what could he do? He can't shoot a fucking cop. And so Jimmy started to squawk about it. And, hey man, you got me for 38 grand. I want my money back. In the 80s, that's a lot of money. And so Steve Manning said, okay, I'll make it right. I'll tell you what, give me some more money. I'm going to get you 3 keys for the price of 2. And we're going to make it all right. So when all this was going down, I knew Jimmy. I knew all the players involved in this case. And so, as it turned out, Jimmy wanted a follow car when he went to meet with Steve. And so when he went to meet with Steve, he met him down on the southwest side of the city, down where he was from. And they got out of the car, it's nighttime, and they went behind a closed fast food restaurant, not a national chain, just a local joint. And Steve pretended to drop his keys. And when Jimmy bent down to pick up the keys, Steve shot him right in the back of the head. Pop, pop. Jack in the box, out goes the weasel. Jimmy's dead like Fred. And Steve had the balls to take his money and just leave him. And then Steve drove away, we drove away, and then Steve made a U-turn. Now, I know these guys, so we made the U-turn too. I didn't know what he was doing, but maybe, we're supposed to help. We're there to help. He wraps him up in a tarp, puts a towel around his head so he doesn't bleed too much in the tarp, and threw in the trunk of his own car, drove his car all the way to the north side of the city, and dumped him over the Lawrence Avenue Bridge into the Des Plaines River. Just easy breezy, like it was nothing. And then Steve turns to us and says, let's go get a pizza. And we were like, oh, fuck no, man, Jimmy's our friend. He's like, come on, man, I'm fine. So we went to Home Run Inn. And literally, to watch this guy eat, like it was nothing after just popping somebody he'd known for years, in my mind, started the divide between, am I really in the right line of work, or do I just love the money so much I'm going to stick with it? And it was that realization at that moment that at any moment, for any reason, it could be you. That's one of the reasons mob guys never carry a lot of cash. In the old days, in the 50s and 60s, we always hid it under our carpets. And then with the advent of different ways to hide it, we washed it through various businesses. But you got too much cash and somebody needs it, guess what? That's it.
Even though Soft White Underbelly consists of a lot of videos, it's really still a photography project to me. And if you appreciate the photography, sometimes it's difficult to enjoy it when it's scrolling down the screen, which is the only option I had in this horizontal format on YouTube. So last year we came out with the first Soft White Underbelly book, which is a collection of the best portraits from the thousands of interviews I've done. Each portrait in this book is accompanied by an interesting quote from the person's interview.
Oh my God.
There's more.
Wow. These aren't as bad as I thought.
I look like a witch.
I will not be reprinting this book when it sells out. So once it's gone for good. You can order yours at softwhiteunderbelly.org. $125, $150 for a signed copy. And thank you for watching.
Turns out Steve Manning, same guy, had a fake jewelry store. He had multiple storefront businesses around the city. He's a cop. He had whatever he wants. Chicago cop. So he had a fake jewelry store. And he was sent out to Vegas to get some money from Vegas. Back in those days, Tony Spilotro ran Las Vegas. They since made a movie about it called Casino. And so Steve, a cop, can get on an airplane with his badge. He just doesn't even check in. He carries his gun with him. So he goes out to get like $250,000. So his share is going to be 50 for bringing it back. And he went with a guy named Ricky Randazzo. And so on the way back, they found Ricky's head in the desert outside Las Vegas. His body wound up in a duffel bag, and they burned it in the jewelry store. They had a melting oven so they could melt down jewelry, and they just systematically I'm watching them, put the arms in, put the hands in, put the legs in. Torso was wrapped real tight with cellophane, kind of stunk when the plastic burned. They shoved them right in that furnace. And it wasn't a big opening, but they kept shoving the body parts in until it was all burnt up, scraped them up. It's like cremation. They took it, put it in a plastic bag, took it out on a boat, and dumped it in Lake Michigan. Later on, as it turns out, Steve was shaking down some of the strip club owners on the southwest side of the city, which is ultimately what got him, after I got him out of prison, behind the testimony that I was involved in, got him back out of prison. He went right back to it, had a restaurant storefront, northwest side, up in an all-Swedish neighborhood called Andersonville. And the restaurant wasn't a restaurant, it was just a storefront. But in the basement, they had a meat grinder. And it's like a garbage disposal, but industrial. And literally watched him take 2 separate bodies, shot in the head, and stuff them like a wood chipper as this thing was grinding and grinding and grinding. And the parts were just going into like meatloaf. Garbage bagged them up. Chicago River, here we go. Pulled up on the South Street Bridge, pulled over, and he literally just dumped them in the river like it was nothing. Pulled away, and that was the end of that. And one time I asked him, I said, dude, how do you sleep at night? He's like, it doesn't bother me. He says, I have a beautiful house in Hoffman Estates. I got a condo downtown on the lake. It's just business. And then I came to realize that I was sleeping well at night too, which really started to trouble me. Am I a psychopath? Am I just incapable of rationing right and wrong? But the reality is, if that's what you grew up with, that's what you know. And if that's what you know, sleeping at night's not hard. Eating right afterwards wasn't really that hard. It's not something you go home and tell your wife and kids about, but it's just what you do for a living. That's your occupation. And it was not that big of a deal. So for me personally, the telltale moment that I was in the wrong line of work and that I needed to start backing out slowly, very slowly. There was a guy in Chicago named Alex Dana. And Alex Dana owns the Rosebud Restaurant Group. The Rosebud, Carmine's, very successful restaurants. Phil Stefano's, he bought him out. Very successful places in Chicago. And Alex Dana was a big restaurateur, but he was also gangstered up. And so I don't even know what the transgression was, but his guy, a cop, that would go from restaurant to restaurant to restaurant and take the zipper bags of money, bring them all to the corporate office, was an asshole, and nobody liked him. But he pissed off somebody, and I later found out that it was Rocco and Felice, who was out in Cicero, but he was one of the main guys in the Chicago mob for his entire life. And something had happened between them, and I got the phone call. And he said, I want you to take Nicky Gio, who was a good friend of ours, my age, and my cousin Dino and myself. And they said, don't kill him, but hurt him. And so we knew where the corporate office was, where he took all the money. And so we sat out there on a Sunday morning after he'd make his rounds, and we were there early, like at 4 o'clock in the morning, because you never knew what time, because he never ran the same route twice. So I had a golf club, I had a chipping wedge, and Nicky Gio had a bat, and My cousin Dino had a bat, but it was sawed off. And so this prick pulls up. He's got a Cadillac that he didn't pay for. Went to Joe Perillo, a mob guy that owns a car dealership. And this dumbass comes out, and he's got these bags, and he's swinging them like a kid swings a doll coming out of the laundromat. And as he's walking the 100 yards from his car to the front door, he's reaching in his pocket for his keys, and that was the moment. And I sprinted up behind him with the chipping wedge, and I caught him right in the forehead. Bink! And when it shot his head back, he got hit like 2 or 3 times with the bats. But on my second swing, when I went to swing into him, into his head, the chipping wedge got caught behind his ear, and I couldn't get the fucking thing out. And I'm shaking his head, and his head's bobbing around, and blood and cottage cheese are going everywhere. And I keep trying to get the fucking chipping wedge out of his head, and it's just not coming out. So I just say, fuck it. So I just start jiggling it as hard as I possibly can, because I figure if nothing else, I'm going to scramble his brains. So I'm pushing this fucker as far as I can behind his ear. I'm jerking it back and forth and back and forth. Shit's flying everywhere. And so once it was obvious he was unconscious, I just dropped the chipping wedge and left it there. And it was still in his head. I remember looking back, and I don't know why, because I didn't even have a beef with this guy. But I went, I spit on him. And it just made me feel like, okay, that's it. I've met my burden. From this point on, I'm just not doing this shit anymore. It's money, but no more violence. Because I didn't even know this prick. He could have been a good family guy when he got home. He could have loved his kids. I didn't know. But when you're told to do it, you robotically do it. And if you don't do it, you get it. And so it was at that moment that I realized that my life in the Chicago mob, you can't just run away, but you slowly ease out. Start taking less assignments to go out of town. Stop doing the things that could wind up in the newspapers. And I still worried that maybe I was psychopathic, because it didn't bother me one bit. Like, not at all. I mean, I kind of felt bad that the guy might be orphaning some kids or widowing a wife, but at the end of the day, I didn't know his kids. So it's just business. So along the way, we eventually get indicted, and we all go to court. And in federal court, we get convicted of the RICO statute, which is a racketeering influence corruption organization. And the RICO statute was built to break up the mob by Robert Kennedy. And because they couldn't get individual crimes, if they could get 5 or more people to conspire to commit a crime on tape or somehow through testimony, then they could convict you as a consortium instead of as an individual, and then that was a mandatory life sentence. So there I'm sitting, dealing with that in the county jail and in the federal lockup, depending on which court I was going to. And the FBI approached me through a series of events. I wound up in a strange office, and I'm talking to Tom Gankars of the FBI, and I know not to tell him anything, but one thing leads to another, and I wind up wearing the wire against the dirty Chicago cops, which were really their targets. They already had the mob guys, but nobody could infiltrate the cops. But since I had known Steve and Gary Engel and the guys that crew so well, and I would go with them to do the crimes like the Jimmy Pellegrino murder, since I knew everybody, the FBI knew that they would talk openly in front of me without hesitation. So I wear the wire. They get indicted, not just for the Chicago crimes, but Kansas City crimes, Miami crimes, Las Vegas crimes. They get indicted for all sorts of shit. And so I testify. I testify in all these trials in different parts of the country. And the cops all wind up with the death penalty in at least one jurisdiction, but then hundreds of years everywhere else for whatever litany of participation they had in these various events. And then it came time to go into witness protection. And in the middle of the night, one night, unbeknownst to me, untold to me, they swooped down on my wife and my 2 young sons, very young sons, and essentially just took the house, put them in the back of a U.S. Marshal's car, and drove them to an airport and flew them to Washington, D.C., to a place where there's no windows, no outside contact, nothing, for like 30 days. And while they sat in there, I didn't know where they were. They could have been alive or dead, I didn't know. But it didn't take long to understand that the marshals don't play from the bureaucratic standpoint. But as it applies to the custody standpoint, I still had 6 more months to do because of the deal I'd worked out for my cooperation. I went to a witness unit down in Phoenix, Arizona. It's a prison, but it's really a hotel, and it's plush. You eat whatever you want. They give you enough money to buy your own groceries. Nobody touches your food but you. You cook it yourself. That way nobody's getting poisoned in there. And then the day comes where they come to you. You know what day you're going home. And you don't know where you're going. They lay out a big map. And they say, okay, you can't go here because you broke the law here. And you can't go here because you broke the law there. And by the time you're done pinpointing all the states you've broken the law, you're down to fucking Idaho, Montana, whatever. So they send my dumb ass to Houston, Texas, where I fit in like never. So I get off the airplane and my marshal's standing there like a fucking goofball. Tall, gangly cowboy with bow legs and wearing a leisure suit. And like the moment we saw each other, it's like, I fucking hate this guy. And he felt the same way. And so it was like a life of fucking mental misery. He wanted me to go to work a 9-to-5 job, be a square, make minimum wage, don't do anything too crazy, don't dress nice, no more suits. You're going to wear untucked polo shirts and Dickies pants. It was horrible, fucking horrible. But the reality is they do all that, not to keep us safe. They fucking hate us. We're rats. They do it so that when the time of reckoning comes for these cops to go to their trial, when they march us into the courtroom, 4 marshals in front of us, 2 usually got shotguns, long arms of some sort. There's usually 1 on either side of us and 2 behind us. And they march you in like a fucking, like a army parade in front of Castro in Cuba. And they sit you on the witness stand and they all stand behind you like this. Like who the fuck's gonna hurt you in a courtroom? Nobody. Like what are you gonna do? Throw a paper wad at you or crumpled paper? Nothing. But the jury is now so afraid of the defendant that he's fucked. That's why witness protection is in existence. Because nobody stays in it. Nobody. You get out, they give you $5,000, which you've already got in your pocket anyway. You stash money all over the country while you're going through the court process. But they give you $5,000, they wipe you completely clean. Like if somebody tried to do a deep dive on me, you're not going to find out shit. And that's just the way it goes. The old me, fingerprints are gone, Social Security history is gone, everything, medical records gone, U.S. military's gone, everything's gone. And they issue you this new shit. And then you got to go out and find a job with a Social Security number that's 3 days old and you're fucking 40 years old. And you go to an employer and say, hey, I've only had a Social Security card for 3 days, but maybe you trust me and hire me. It's laughable. But the marshals don't fucking care. All they care about is that dog and pony show come court day. And it's, the budget for that is insane. I was involved in a trial that I was subpoenaed by a lawyer in Chicago who represented, after Steve Manning came off of his death row case through the appellate process, not because I erred, but because the judge allowed the wife of Jimmy Pellegrino to say some things about Steve Manning that weren't part of the record. So he gets a new trial. I refuse to testify. He gets sprung. So he hires some civil rights attorneys. They sue the FBI. I get subpoenaed to testify. And in the process of testifying in this case, the ultimate verdict was that Steve Manning gets $6.5 million, which is like insane. But that's how the system works. I mean, it's just how it works. But I had to testify to just, what did they give me? Like, what did the FBI give me to testify against these people? They let you have sex whenever you want when you're incarcerated. They clear out the FBI office and you can bring whoever you want up there. Guys are allowed to bring whatever they want back into the jail. As a matter of fact, until you're officially in WITSEC and witness protection, the FBI handles you. But once you're officially in WITSEC, once you're official Department of Justice witness protection, then the marshals take over. And it's like it's free for all. And so we sat there and literally with a paper and a pen on the witness stand, started calculating how much they pay you. And it was about $250,000. To me, personally, about $250,000. Not to mention all the dog and pony shit, buying my family a new house, getting them new cars, getting our new identity. It had to be at least $500,000, if not $1 million, for one trial. And that's where your tax dollars go in the name of justice. Kind of fuck it up.
Fascinating life you've lived.
Huh?
Fascinating life you've lived.
You have no idea. I mean, you have no, dude, I got bullet holes all over me. I got stab wounds all over me.
Did you regret letting that, leading that life?
No, because it led me to where I am now.
You're happy?
No one's going to catch me slipping. Never going to happen.
You showed up here with 4 bodyguards.
I'm well protected. And I'm pretty good at defending
Because you're
myself.
worried about the cops as well as the mob, right?
I'm more worried about the cops.
Is the mob still even existent in
Oh,
Chicago?
yeah, they're alive and well.
Yeah.
But they refined their skill set because cash isn't king anymore. Now it's all credit, so you got to figure out how to tax credit. And that's harder to do. Paper dollars, you put them in a bag and walk away with them. But it's the cops you got to worry about. The cops I put away are so old, they're incapacitated. But they all got, because nepotism in the Chicago PD, I mean, that's the only way you're going to get hired, right? Aside from affirmative action. And so what happens is their nephews, sons, grandsons are now cops. And if the wrong cop sees me bouncing down the street, which by the way, I look immensely different than I did in those days. I'll show you a picture later. But yeah, the wrong cop catches me, I'm catching one in the head. So I've stayed clear of Taylor Street. You ever go to Taylor Street?
I've been there many times. Ell's Beef.
Okay, so you got Taylor, right? Mm-hmm. 2 blocks south is Roosevelt.
Yeah.
2 blocks north is the Congress Expressway.
Yeah.
So I'm 1 block north on Flournoy. You got Racine. 1 block east is May. So I am on Flournoy and May. So basically Taylor and Racine. I'm a diagonal 1 block away.
Yeah.
That's where I grew up my whole life.
It's a great neighborhood.
They've gentrified it a lot. The area they used to call Jewtown, Maxwell Street, all wiped out. All wiped out. Now, I'm not supposed to tell anybody, but I've been back. But when I went back, dude, I went in the dead of winter on purpose, scarfed up, sunglasses, hat, hoodie. Like you would have never known it was me. But I rode through Jewtown, and I couldn't believe what I saw. It's complete. It's UIC now. They bought up all the property.
Yeah.
What else you want to know?
That's it. That's all I need to know. That's a lot.
All right.
It's a hell of a story.
Can I tell you? I brought those papers that day, right?
Yeah.
And you're busy. Now I understood in retrospect why you didn't want to see them. Everything I've told you is documented through the court records. Every single thing.
Yeah.
There's not one thing I've told you that varies in any way from what I've already testified to, and passed polygraphs on. So.
You're a great storyteller.
Well, I hope you make a lot of money. I hope you make a lot of money, dude. You're a good guy. I want to tell you, I was trepidatious in the beginning because I'm not Johnny Handsome, right? I'm just a guy. And
You're a good-looking dude.
no, I'm just a guy. I'm balding. I battled cancer now for a while. Other things have gone on in my life. I've lost everybody. Mom, dad, brother, everybody's dead. So I'm going to tell you, I'm just a guy. And at this point in life, I don't give a fuck who knows my story. Like, what are you going to do? You're not going to run up on me and beat my ass. That ain't going to happen. And if you shoot me, I'm going to die eventually. So I'd rather die quickly to a bullet than slowly to prostate cancer. It's a better way to go.
All right. Tommy Dye, thank you so much.
Thank you, man. You've been like super hospitable.
I make it easy for you.
You did.
All right, Dominic. Yes. Dominic, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
Originally from West Virginia.
What part?
Berkeley Springs. We had a house up there. My mom, my dad. My dad was handicapped, fully handicapped. He had one whole side of his body paralyzed. My mom was the main supporter in our family. She was a cook for a restaurant named Coufant in West Virginia. She
Is this Western West Virginia?
It's near Berkeley Springs, Winchester, past that area. It's DC area, basically.
Oh, DC, okay.
Yeah, going past DC and West Virginia area.
The other part of the state.
Yeah, other part of the state. And we, mainly as kids, we grew up as poor people. We grew up as our neighborhood would give us food. It was pretty embarrassing. We had a bunch of friends that would bring us food. My uncle would bring us food, bring us toys, and when we seen him, we knew he was getting ready to have some toys or clothes, shoes, and we just kind of grew up as kids in West Virginia, and it was a rough time, but we kind of got through it and started growing up. After we had moved from West Virginia because my mother couldn't afford to keep the house, we moved to Fairfax, Virginia. There, my brother, older half stepbrother, moved in with us. His name was Porky. We called him William Neal. He had another father. He had the same mother, and we grew up with him, being my brother.
You called him Porky, or you called him William?
Yeah, I called him Porky. His friends called him Porky. He kind of chubby a little bit.
That's a hell of a nickname.
Yeah. It's I think he got that from Henry's Record Service out there in Fairfax. Gave him the name because he ate all the time, and then he started growing up. We smoked a lot of weed back in the day, and my brother ended up, getting me into smoking weed, and we started smoking weed from there. And then kind of one night, my brother called me up to his little place that he had built on the own property, and he had some cocaine, and he started snorting it, and days went through, and then he finally offered me some, and I kind of took it. So I was snorting cocaine at 14 years old.
Do you feel like weed was a gateway?
Huh?
You feel like weed was a gateway for you?
Yeah, weed is a gateway drug. The way they, give out weed nowadays is just kind of ridiculous.
But the way you open the door for weed is exactly the same way you open the door for cocaine.
Yes, and cocaine, but all the other drugs I never had a urge for. Cocaine is different. It is a drug that pulls you, but most people can't handle cocaine or crack or heroin, all that stuff. They go berserk. Me, I can do cocaine, have money in my pocket, and go home and still have money in my pocket the next day. So mainly did cocaine and started smoking crack at the age of 16. And that's when my brother found out that it was being cooked. And so he kind of got me smoking crack as well. I love my brother, but he was sort of a bad influence on me. Wasn't any kind of hurtful person. He was always caring and stuff like that. But he did a lot of drugs. So from there, my dad had passed away. I went to prison at like age of 19, and it was for a gun charge that I'd had. I was drunk one night and fired a SKS in Fairfax City, and that was kind of the wrong thing to do. They SWAT teamed the whole area, found where the gunshots were coming from. Wasn't shooting at nobody, but I was just drunk and up late, and somebody knocked on the door. They didn't want to say who it was, so I opened the door with a gun in my hand, like an idiot. I was so drunk that I fired the gun up in the air and almost hurt my sister. That was out the front door. The shells were ejecting from the gun and hit her in the face because I was not knowing what I was doing. But went to prison for that, did 5 years, almost 6 years off that. And then I got my second gun charge. After that, probably 3 years after that, it was my buddy's gun, and we were shooting old computer screens on a military base because he had military clearance to go in there and go to the gun range. So we decided to go to the gun range one day, and of course the gun range was packed so full that every military person in the world was there, firing their weapons and testing them and practicing and stuff like that. So we went to an old area in the neighborhood and we got beer and we were sitting there drinking. So we decided to shoot computer screens. So he had a little 22 shot gun, little 8-shot 22. We start shooting computer screens. Next thing we know, we see a military guy was in the next field, and he was flying his little model airplane over us and kind of diving into us to, I guess, to make us leave. I don't know what he was doing, but he was in the next field. And so after the second time that he had aimed his little plane at us, I took a shot at his plane, his little remote control plane. And I ended up hitting it. It crashed to the ground. Not 5 minutes later, 20 military police came down on us, dogs, kind of arrested us, gave us 21 charges before we got back to the barracks. Ended up costing my buddy a lot of money, over $60,000 to get out of it. Of course, nowadays you can pay for just about anything. So, you know, if you got enough money, you can pay anything, anybody to do whatever you want in this country. You know, then from there, I went to prison again for the second charge. Never really went to school. I was a kind of a person who never liked to read. I was a bad reader, still am. I grew up kind of hoping that I could read and get better reading. And I've tried in my lifetime to read a book and sit back and try to enjoy life, but life is not easy nowadays. So it kind of messed me up in the head, you know, not mentally or anything, just it's kind of a thing that you live with. And so I started, after I kind of got out of prison, I started to, you know, try to behave and do the right thing. I got me a job in construction, driving heavy equipment. Then I started seeing girls and all this good stuff, and had a girlfriend, and her name was Jackie, beautiful little Asian girl. And I loved her for a long time, and then her brother was real racist and did not like white people dating a Korean woman. And so one night he had split my head open with a brick. And I've got the scar here to prove it. He had come over the corner of the wall and just hit me dead blind in the back of the head, on top of the head, with a brick. And it almost killed me. I was down in a ditch, and I had to crawl up to the main road to get help. I crawled up to the main road and passed out. Police found me. Late at night after that, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning when they found me. Blood all over me, down my clothes. It took my wallet, all my shoes that he took. He took my shoes. He took just about everything I had. I had a little bag. He took that. So I ended up in the hospital, and my mother was real upset with this. Of course, she was the only supporter of our family. She supported us her whole life.
What happened to your girlfriend's brother?
Well, he ended up going to jail that evening. It was the next day, actually, and he ended up going to jail. And his mother had owned a restaurant out in Maryland, Virginia, area, and she liked me, and she liked that I was dating Jackie. She came down to the hospital real quick, got Jackie, and they both came to the hospital. Of course, my mother was there. My mother wanted nothing to do with him. Didn't want him to come in the hospital, didn't want him to come in my room. I was still unconscious at the time because they had gave me a bunch of medication to soothe the pain and stuff like that. So when I finally woke up, like a day and a half later, the doctor had come in and told me that my skull was fractured completely fractured, completely broken apart up top, and that they had to put bone or whatever they put in my head, and to kind of make it go back together. They had my head all wrapped up, and they had shaved part of my hair, but Unson had went to jail that day, and when he went to jail, his mother didn't know he was in jail for assaulting me, trying to kill me. And when they finally found out that he was in jail, of course they bonded him out. It was a real high, like $1 million bond they'd put him on. Of course, his mother had the restaurant, so she put the restaurant up for, his bail, and he was going to go to court anyway because he was a kind of a, his mom bought him a car, bought him a motorcycle. He was the older person in the family, so ended up, my mother finally let Jackie in, and Jackie was crying and, real upset about it. And so her mother come in finally, and we were talking. My mom was steady cussing her out, calling her a murderer and a killer and trying to kill her son, which is me. And so we ended up, the cops had come in, and they were going to ask me if I wanted to press charges against Unson. Well, the district attorney had already picked it up, and they were pressing charges anyway. So they ended up pressing charges. His mom lost the restaurant because of the lawsuit and the injury to me. Unson got out of jail. They paid so much money. It's like $600,000 to get him out of jail, to keep him out of jail. I ended up getting a settlement from them, and it went from there. Me and Jackie had broke up, and my mom told her that she couldn't come back on the property. She wasn't allowed back on our property at all, and she told me that I couldn't date her no more. And that was about it for that. After Jackie, I was working, and I had met another Korean girl, which I still love to this day. Her name was Misu. And we were real good together. She was a beautiful woman, real outspoken, but she had a money problem. She loved money, loved it. I did a lot of work, construction work. I never received a paycheck. She would always get my paycheck. I would get $100 out of $1,000 paycheck. So I stuck with that for a long time. Me and Masu had a lot of arguments. I had a lot of contracts that I was doing tree work, and she messed up a $15,000 contract for me one time. It was for tree trimming in Virginia, and we had all the stuff, but she kept pulling up into the lane trying to get money. The check for every 2 weeks we got paid, it was 15,000 we were getting paid for every 2 weeks for tree trimming along Virginia area. And she had pulled in one time, and the boss told her, you can't come in here, you can't be pulling your vehicle in here, this is a dangerous zone. If something drops on your car, you could get hurt. And of course I come down out of the tree and told her, what do you want? What are you doing here? Why are you here? She says, you got the check? It's like, wow, you come down here to get a check, and I could have gave it to you when I got home. She didn't want to wait, so I ended up losing the contract. Before that, we had slept together, and I'm pretty sure that Masu had HIV, and this is how I contracted it, through a woman. And I've been living with that horror all my life. It's painful, very painful. So,
You're on medication for it?
yes, up here in Los Angeles, it's kind of hard to get medication anywhere because they tell you to get up, come here at 6 o'clock in the morning and fill out this booklet of paperwork. And, it's hard because you can't get up. You can't, because you don't have the time up here. People that are homeless up here do not really carry cell phones. They carry them, but they destroy them. Or they don't care about getting up trying to find work. Me, I'm different. I like to work. I'm interested in getting a job up here, interested in seeing the world.
What made you come to Los Angeles?
Huh?
What made you come to LA?
Well, I was here before, and the money is higher up here as far as pay.
So is the cost of living, though?
Yeah, it's I have a driver's license right now. I have Social Security card. I had a birth certificate, but it got mangled in my wallet. This is what I'm waiting on right now to get further work. But right now I've been up here just kind of canning and trying to survive. But I've come up to Los Angeles mainly to try to get a better job. Virginia is limited on what jobs you can get because they're all gone. Virginia, there's hardly no work up there. Everybody's undercutting everybody. Everybody's, doing work, mowing the grass for 5 times less than it usually is. And Virginia wasn't working for me anymore. So I've been up here before, so I decided to come back here and try to make something better for myself.
Trying to rebuild your life?
Huh?
Trying to rebuild your life?
Trying to rebuild my life, yes. That's exact words I was looking for.
But you're still in love with the second Korean woman?
Yeah, I will always love her because she was...
taking all your money and giving you AIDS?
Yeah, she took all my money, but she was a very, very nice woman when she wanted to be. I have bad anger issues, so, I don't know what it is, but when you give somebody some money and then you don't get any of it back to do anything with, to buy cigarettes or buy a drink, even put gas in your vehicle, give her $1,000 in 1 week, and she says, if you got no money, you have to walk to work. So I've never walked to work, but that's how
it makes you fall in love with them.
Huh?
It makes you fall in love with them.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, I guess. Woman like that.
That's what the whole dominatrix
yeah,
thing is all about.
Yeah, I guess that's probably what it was about.
I don't think you're as weird as you appear.
But we ended up catching that problem from her, and by sex, and she kind of left me and went somewhere where the money's better. I have a sister that I love dearly.
She never told you that she had HIV?
No. She never told me. She just
you think she knew?
Was renting a house, and I actually rented a room from her one day, and I was come home from work, and I was all hot, sweaty. This is back in the day when I was a little younger, and I always wore my shirt off, and I was a lot more muscular than I am now, and her room was right here, and my room was here. So I walked up to my room to put the key in, and I looked over, and she has a big mirror in her room. So I'm looking over, and she's standing in her shower, in her bathroom, naked. And I almost couldn't take my eyes off her because she was so beautiful. And then that night, she knocked on my door and kind of just walked in and flipped her shoes off and jumped on my bed. That night we had sex, had a lot of sex. And we had sex for hours and days. I had a job laying pipe, and
yes, you did.
Yeah, and I was absent for 3 days. I run a piece of heavy equipment to get gravel and pipe, sewage pipe, And I come back in 3 days later, and my boss told me, he says, where you been? I told him, I said, Bud, I've been having the best sex of my life. He says, well, he said, the office wants to see you, and it's not good news. So I went into the office the same day, and he just told me, he says, I can't have you not coming in, not showing up. I know sex is fun and good, but job is kind of more important right now. And I told him, I said, Bud, please don't fire me. He's like, man, I gotta fire you. And he fired me. So I went home and I told her, I said, I got fired because we had sex for 3 days straight. And she says, oh, it's okay. It's okay. You find another job. So this lady had money. Masu had money when I first met her, and why she offered to buy me a Hummer when I first met her. And she had the money. Of course, I turned it down because I wasn't getting into all that. It was, she says, oh, you look so good with a Hummer, driving a Hummer. It's like, it's just too expensive. So I ended up buying an old ratty truck, and,
So she offered to buy you a truck.
Yeah, she offered to buy me a brand new Hummer back in the day, about 10 years ago, but yeah.
So she's not all bad.
No, she wasn't all bad.
But she didn't tell you that she had HIV.
Her mother was a real nice lady. Her family was nice. They used to, take me out to eat, take me to drink. They never liked me smoking weed around them. Masu never liked me smoking weed around her either. But I smoked weed around her. Her brothers loved me. Even the youngest one ended up smoking weed with me one day. We was out on a job site, and I told him that I had to go take a quick break. He's like, what are you gonna do? I said, smoke me a little weed. And because I work better when I smoke a little weed, I get moving pretty fast. We were doing sighting at the time. Me as a tape measure, using a tape measure was hard for me because I really had problems trying to measure. But he ended up smoking weed with me that day in the truck. His sister found out, my girlfriend, she found out that I gave him weed. And that day, she had took my whole stash and threw it in the trash because she didn't want me smoking weed with her brothers. And she didn't want her brothers smoking weed at all. So she took my bong, my bowls, all my stuff that I had to smoke weed with, took it and threw it in the trash, and pretty much destroyed it. So after Masu.
Something about a hard-headed woman.
Yeah, a real hard-headed woman. After Masu, we had broken up, blah, blah, blah. I had met a girl named Tina, and Tina now lives in Florida. She has my son. His name is Dominic as well. Never seen him that much. She has turned him against me, told him I was a bad guy, and that I basically didn't deserve to see him, that I wasn't around. It's kind of hard when you move to Florida and you're in Virginia and you have no transportation, no way to see your son, no way to be a father. I've never got that chance in my life. She took him to Florida, and I ain't seen him since. And if you're watching, Tina, you're a bitch. I want to see my son. So, it was a hard life. It's been a hard life. A lot of hard lives, I've seen stuff out here in Los Angeles that amazes me. Like the city of Los Angeles, they're hurting the homeless people here, hurting them. They think giving them pipes and bubbles and stems and all that stuff is good for them. Well, it's not. Whoever runs this city is an idiot.
How old are you now?
I am 48.
48.
Now. I'm
And you've been here how long?
in Los Angeles. A little over like 2 months, going on 2 months now. I'm trying to get work. There is work out here. I've been listening to a lot of conversations out here. Just sweeping trash out here, you can make up to $20 an hour. You know, a lot of people out here, they don't do their jobs out here as far as cleaning the streets up. They sit around, smoke weed, laugh and play with each other. They're out there to make money. They're to work. They're not working. They are gallivanting around, smoking their little weed, talking to their little friends on their cell phones all the times. Me, I'm a different kind of person. I don't have a cell phone. I don't even like cell phones. I've broken so many in my life just because they're annoying. Like I said, I have an anger issue. That's one of the reasons why I broke so many cell phones. If it doesn't work right for me, I kind of either get rid of it or destroy it or something like that. But you know, my life's been okay. Hopefully, sometime soon I'll get a birth certificate from my sister. Hopefully, she'll do it for me. And she didn't like me when I left Virginia because we had gotten in an argument. And you know, I owed some people some money. And I do want to pay them, but right now I'm struggling, so I don't have any money to spare. And I know I've been a mooch on my family, so this is one of the other reasons why I moved out here.
What's your biggest regret in your life?
Huh?
What's your biggest regret in your life?
My biggest regret is not listening to the people who back in the day were telling me to act right, to do what they're doing now. Sitting back, relaxing with a comfortable job, having somebody who loves you 24/7. It hurts, you know. A lot of people out here in Los Angeles, they talk to themselves. It's because they're not loved and because they don't have nobody to talk to. I kind of grew up, my dad was handicapped, like I said, and you know, he couldn't really talk to you in conversation, but he could say hello, hi, I love you, all that good stuff. My dad was a beautiful man. My mom, she was always tired. She wasn't cooking and cleaning for us. She was cooking, cleaning for somebody else. But yeah, my biggest regret is not listening to the people back in the day that told me to do the right thing and to do it now. It's not too late now, but I'm still going to try. I'm still going to try to get money in my pocket, a place to live. And I am getting older, and you know, me not taking my medication at the right times or even taking my medication does hurt me. So I'm trying to do all that, trying to get everything straightened out.
Medication for what?
It's for the HIV.
Oh, I see. Right.
Yeah, it's called Biktarvy.
How does it affect you if you don't take it?
Well, I don't know. I just don't know. I know it makes your T cells go down. You know, they don't have the technology or the knowledge to give to all the people. They don't have that. You know, they're not out preaching that. They are out preaching for, you know, for cancer, for testing for HIV. They're just not out there doing the right things as far as that disease. That disease can be controlled, and I probably still am undetectable. This means that I can pretty much have sex, you know, and not give it to nobody. I don't have sex without a condom, but you know, I just, yeah, that's basically what that is.
But Dominic, what would you say is the most important lesson you've learned in your life? You've been through a lot.
I'm gonna say that lesson in my life is to be kind, not to be an asshole.
It's always a good one.
Huh?
That's always a good lesson.
Yeah, I've been hard-headed and stubborn. So I'm trying to get my stubbornness out of me, real stubborn. I do swallow my pride a lot. And like I said, I have very, very bad anger issues that I'm still coping with. And, you know, I'm trying to get everything straightened out. And I want to get everything straightened out. The help out here, it's paperwork. If you have hours and hours and hours and days to do paperwork, they'll give you anything you want out here. But paperwork is a lot of annoyance to me, and it hurts. You know, it hurts when you have a reading problem, and it hurts when you look at a piece of paper and you say, well, what am I supposed to do with this? I had my sister, Pia, used to do a lot of paperwork for me, a lot of computer work. She still does. I'm sure she's getting my birth certificate. I'm hoping and praying so I can try to start something new out here. And, you know, and hopefully that's what goes on.
All right. Dominic, thank you so much for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
I wish you lots of luck out here in LA.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.